umuyobozi ushinzwe igenamigambi mu ngabo z'u Rwanda RDF akaba anahagarariye umugaba w'ingabo zirwanira mu kirere w'u Rwanda mu gutegura iyi nama. Tubahaye ikaze.
Murakoze cyane.
Yego. Iri huriro rigiye guteraniriza hano muri Kigali Convention Center abanganiki baturutse mu bihugu bingahe?
Murakoze cyane. Iri huriro ribaye n'ingaruka mwaka ribaye ku nshuro yaryo ya 11. Hano mu Rwanda rirahera none rizasozwa itariki 28 rihuje ibihugu 30 bya Afrika. Ariko bikaba biyobowe n'u Rwanda hamwe n'igihugu cya Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika. Hano rero tuhafite abagaba b'ingabo zirwanira mu kirere 32. Murakoze.
32. Hanyuma umuntu yahita yibaza ku ngingo wenda zahariwe kuri inshuro ya 11 ziza kuganirwaho nizihe cyane cyane.
Urebe iyi nama igamije guha urubuga abagaba b'ingabo zirwanira mu kirere kugira ngo baganire barebe ibibazo byugarije uyu mugabane wacu, ariko nanone bashobore gukorana no gufatanya kugira ngo bahangane n'ibibazo biba bitwugarije. Ariko by'umwihariko iyi nama ifite gahunda yo kwiga ku bijyanye n'ubwikorezi bw'abantu n'ibikoresho ku mugabane wa Afurika binashobotse no hirya yawo. Iki ni ikintu ku rwego rw'u Rwanda gifite akamaro kanini. Ubu turi mu bihugu bitandukanye hirya no hino, iyo tujyayo gutabara, gutanga umutekano, gufasha ibindi bihugu, bidusaba ko tujyana abantu n'ibikoresho. Ibi rero ni ibintu hano biri bwigirwe muri iyi nama, abantu bareba uko bafatanya hagati y'ibihugu bya Afurika, ariko tukaba dufite n'ibindi bihugu dukorana nk'uku igihugu cya Amerika kiri hano nacyo dufatanya muri urwo rwego. Iyi rero yahawe insanganyamatsiko y'ubwikorezi bw'abantu n'ibintu, byo bita mu Cyongereza strategic airlift.
Yego, hanyuma tugana ku musozo ngira ngo tunareke n'abadukurikiye bakomeze gukurikira iki gikorwa cyangwa iri huriro ribaye ku nshuro ya 11. Hari bimaze kugerwaho mwishimira n'iri huriro mubona rikomeza gutanga ibisubizo ku bibazo biri muri uru rwego?
Cyane buri gihe iyo abantu bahuye bakaganira bakicarana, hari ibibazo buri gihe bigaho kandi bakabibonera umuti. Uko rero ibihugu byatangiye ari bike, iri shyirahamwe ryatangiye 2015, u Rwanda rwinjiyemo 2017, ariko ibihugu biragenda byiyongera. Iyo rero uko ibihugu bigenda byiyongera niko n'ibitekerezo n'ingamba zigenda ziboneka. Nkumva uko izi nama zigiye ziba buri gihe hari icyo tubyigiramo nk'ibihugu dusangiye izi nama, ariko nanone nk'u Rwanda nkatwe tukomeza kumva uko ibindi bihugu bikemura ibibazo byabyo, natwe tukabereka uko duhagaze.
Ari ingero zifatika zihari z'ibibazo byagiye bikemuka cyangwa byagiye
turabifite kuko hari ubufatanye. Iyo bimwe utabishoboye ufatanya na bagenzi bawe. Ntabwo ari ibintu byo guhisha. Muri 2014 Amerika niyo ya force ya Amerika niyo yadufashije kugeza ibikoresho muri Central Africa twihuta. Ubu natwe hari aho tugeze, twagiye muri Mozambique twitwariye ibikoresho byacu. Urumva ko bitangira ari ugufatanya, ubundi ukagenda utera imbere. Tubashimire cyane. Urakoze cyane.
Ni Colonel Innocent Munyengango, umuyobozi ushinzwe igenamigambi mu ngabo z'u Rwanda, wadusobanuriraga ibikubiye muri iri huriro rigiye guterana ku nshuro ya 11. Ikaze rero muri Kigali Convention Center hagiye gukomereza iri huriro nyafurika ry'abagaba b'ingabo zirwanira mu kirere. Nge nitwa Paul Rutikanga. Abakomeje gukurikira televiziyo Rwanda, tukaba twababwira ko mu kanya katarambiranye umushyitsi mukuru ategerejwe hagiye gukomereza iri huriro nyafurika ry'abagaba b'ingabo zirwanira mu kirere ku mugabane wa Afurika. Nk'uko rero Colonel Innocent Munyengango amaze kubikomozaho, ibihugu bigera kuri 30 nibyo bihagarariwe muri iri huriro rigiye guterana ku nshuro yaryo ya 11. Bimwe muri ibyo bihugu twagarukaho ni nka Angola, Benin, Botswana, igihugu cya Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cameroon, Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, Repubulika Iharanira Demokarasi ya Congo, Misiri, Gabon, Ghana, Kenya, Lesotho, Libya, Madagascar, Malawi, Mauritania, Morocco, Namibia, igihugu cya Nigeria, Repubulika ya Congo, u Rwanda na Senegal, ndetse hakaba harimo ibihugu nka Sierra Leone, Somalia, Tanzania, Togo, Tunisia, Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika ndetse n'igihugu cya Zambia. Mu byo rero bagiye kuganira hano mu kanya katarambiranye ni uburyo bwo guhuza ubufatanye n'imbaraga muri uru rwego kugira ngo ibibazo bikomeza kugaragara muri uru rwego bishakirwe igisubizo mu bufatanye bw'ibyo bihugu byombi. Mwumvise ingero zatanzwe na Colonel Munyengango zirimo uburyo Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika zafashije u Rwanda kugeza ibikoresho mu gihugu cya Repubulika ya Centrafrica, ariko nyuma yaho narwo rukishakamo ibisubizo kuri ubu rukaba rugeze ku rwego aho nk'ibikoresho byageze mu gihugu cya Mozambique u Rwanda ari rwo rwabyikoreye. Mu bihugu rero biteraniye hano ikinini bakora ni ugusangizanya ubunararibonye ubw'uburyo bagiye bahura n'imbogamizi n'uburyo bagiye bishakamo ibisubizo byo kuzirenga. Icyo twababwira rero nk'uko munabikurikira ni uko mu cyumba Kigali cya Convention Center bamaze kuhagera mu kanya katarambiranye umukuru w'igihugu akaza kuba ahageze kugira ngo iri huriro nyafurika rihurije hamwe abagaba b'ingabo zirwana mu kirere muri Afurika ribe ritangiye. Ngira ngo ikindi twababwira nuko iri huriro riba buri mwaka, ahanini rihuza izi mpande zombi, birumvikana abakora muri uru rwego kugira ngo basangizanye ubunararibonye uko imikorere ibihagaze mu bihugu baturukamo. Hakazamo ibihugu nka Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika ziba zarateye imbere muri uru rwego kugira ngo nazo zisangize abandi uko babigezeho, imbogamizi bagihura nazo, izo bahuye nazo uburyo babashe kuzirenga. Mu banyacyubahiro bandi bateraniye hano twavuga harimo nka ambasaderi wa Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika mu Rwanda, Ambassador Peter Vrooman, harimo kandi nk'umujyanama wihariye mu bya gisirikare wa Perezida wa Repubulika General James Kabarebe, ndetse n'abandi biganjemo abagaba abakuru b'ingabo zo muri ibi bihugu bigera kuri 30 bigiye guteranira muri iri huriro rigiye guterana ku nshuro ya 11, akaba rigiye kubera mu Rwanda nyuma yo kubera mu bihugu bitandukanye bya Afurika. Birumvikana mu kanya rero katarambiranye aho umukuru w'igihugu aza kuba ageze hano, muraza gukurikira uko iri huriro ributangizwe. Ni ihuriro ritangijwe ku mugaragaro kuri tariki ya 24 z'ukwezi kwa mbere 2022, rikazasozwa ku itariki ya 28 z'ukwezi kwa mbere 2022, ni ukuvuga ku munsi wo kuwa gatanu. Abateraniye muri iki cyumba bakaba baratangiye kugera mu Rwanda, birumvikana ku munsi w'ejo, nyuma yo gukurikiza ingamba zitandukanye zo kwirinda COVID-19, bakaba bahuriye muri iri huriro rya 11. Ikaze rero mwese ahagiye gutangira ku mugaragaro iri huriro rya 11 ry'abagaba b'ingabo zirwana mu kirere. Ikaze rero nanone muri iri huriro.
You may be seated. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda and Commander-in-Chief of Rwanda Defense Force, the Ambassador of the United States of America, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the 11th Annual African Air Chiefs Symposium. I am Colonel Innocent Munyengango of the Rwanda Defense Force and your Master of Ceremony for this year's African Air Chiefs Symposium, along with Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Popola of the United States Air Force. Your Excellency, it is my pleasure to welcome Lieutenant General Jean-Jacques Mupenzi to make his remarks.
Distinguished guests, on behalf of the Association of the African Air Forces and on my own behalf, permit me to extend my sincere gratitude to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Rwanda and the Command-in-Chief of Rwanda Defense Force for having got time out of his very busy schedule to come and grace this event at the opening ceremony. Your Excellency, we are greatly honored. Your Excellency the President, the Ambassador of the United States of America in Rwanda, the Co-Chair, General Harigian, the Commander of VSF Air Force Europe and Africa, fellow African Air Chiefs and representatives present, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's an honor for Rwanda Defense Force in general and Rwanda Air Force in particular to have this incredible opportunity to co-host the 11th African Air Chiefs Symposium. This symposium will bring a tremendous opportunity to exchange views, experiences, and lessons learned on strategic areas that support a common approach across African Air Forces. At the end of this symposium, our expectations are that we'll have built new relationships among African Air Forces and reinforcing existing ones, while also developing actionable ways to address regional and continental issues. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, our region is very vast, characterized by a limited transportation infrastructure, hence require effective air mobility mechanisms to bridge distances, support replenishment of troops in theater operations, and attend to humanitarian assistance. To achieve this, strengthening regional cooperation in air domain is critical in order to support and respond to common security challenges on the continent. Once again, Rwandan Air Force is happy to be a part of the Association of African Air Forces. We want to participate and benefit from it as long as it remains committed to promoting common interests and mutual respect. Therefore, let's challenge ourselves to ensure that the outcomes of African Air Chiefs Symposium are practical and meaningful, to develop an effective African air power that would bring sustainable peace, security, and development in the continent. To close, on behalf of the Association of African Air Forces, I would like to express my appreciation to the fellow African Air Force chiefs for honoring our invitation. You are all most welcome to Kigali and looking forward to the fruitful deliberations. Your Excellency, distinguished audience, I thank you for your kind attention.
Murakoze, General Mupenzi. Your Excellency, it is my pleasure to introduce to you and welcome to the podium General Jeffrey Harigian, Commander, United States Air Forces in Europe and Air Forces Africa, the co-chairman for the Association of African Air Forces, and the co-host for today's event. General Harigian, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. And Your Excellency, sir, again, thank you for taking the time to be here today. As you can tell from the august group that is here, there's great interest in this symposium, and we are honored to have you here with us today. Let me also thank the Ambassador Vrooman, your time, your team's time, the dedicated expertise that went into helping us make this happen was incredibly important. And I think as you look at the crowd today, we can be proud of pulling the team together and what we've been able to make happen. I would also like to thank the Chief of Defense, General Kazura, for being here. It's a great opportunity for you to also interact with some of our great partners across the continent. I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General Charles Brown, also to thank you all for being here today, and to our distinguished guests. He will have an opportunity via video here to offer his thanks, but I wanted to personally thank all of you on behalf of him. To all the members, to all that are here today, many of us were in Kenya just a few years ago. It feels like it was 10 years ago, but to have us all together again, it is my great honor to be with all of you. And I importantly want to thank my co-host, General Mupenzi, the Rwanda Defense Forces, for working so closely with our team and demonstrating what a true partnership is all about. As you can imagine, the details required to put this together during the COVID pandemic, to manage that threat and to do it in a very professional fashion, could only have been done by a great force. So, sir, thank you very much for that teamwork. As many of you that have participated in these before, this is a tremendous opportunity to talk face-to-face, to talk about the challenges, the opportunities, and as General Mupenzi said, to develop actionable items for us to move forward together. This takes dedication, it takes cooperation, it takes an investment of your people's time, your time, and I want to thank all of you for your hard work in contributing to what we do together. As I said, I'm honored here to be with you, and I know that we've been able to adapt the forum to those issues that are most important to all of us. Strategic mobility is a challenge that runs across the continent, and is one that I know that we have talked about in many of these symposiums. Since our first acts back in 2011, back in Ethiopia, this conference, this symposium, has provided a unique opportunity for not only strategic dialogue, but also offers us the chance to talk about operational issues, and it fosters communication, It fosters opportunities to develop connections and coordinate for ways that we can work on our common interests together. And fortunately, as airmen, we speak the same language. We all have a common view of what it looks like at 20 or 30,000 feet, and we recognize that we can't do it alone. We are going to operate together. That is how we will succeed, and we will be stronger together. We will conquer the distances that we have to operate over. We will conquer those that would be adversaries or those that would disrupt the stability and security of the continent. We recognize that strategic airlift capabilities have made us faster, have made us more agile, and importantly, have brought us closer together as a team. Whether that's been in crisis or on security missions, we have found ways that have taken us to levels that were unforeseen years ago, and you have all been part of that history. We've strengthened our capabilities, we've professionally developed our forces, and we've built relationships with every engagement, with every phone call. And I'm reminded you do not want your first phone call to happen during crisis. You want to leverage opportunities like this symposium to build those relationships, to deepen and strengthen those that will be teammates when we need them. And I'm reminded that, as we've talked previously, building partnership is a journey. It's not just one meeting. It's opportunities like this that allow us to deepen those relationships where ultimately it's about building trust and confidence in each other and our forces. I know that together we stand shoulder to shoulder to bring stability and security to the continent, and that we will do that together, and that this forum will provide us opportunities to work together and find solutions on those areas that are most important to all of us. So first, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to travel. Again, thank you, Your Excellency, for being here. I look forward to engaging with all of you in making progress on these important challenges that we all have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Haridjian. The next speaker, General C.Q. Brown, Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, will now join us through a pre-recorded message. Please.
Over the course of my 36 years in the military, I've been very fortunate to work with air forces around the world. I'm constantly reminded of the African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's why I believe in symposiums like this, because I believe we are stronger together than we are alone. I want to take a moment to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Although I wish I could be there in person, I'm happy to provide a few thoughts virtually for such an important event. I want to specifically thank the Rwanda Defense Force Lieutenant General Mupenzi for hosting and organizing this year's event. I know that it takes a lot of coordination to put a symposium of this magnitude together. Your diligent planning and careful considerations will no doubt make this event a success. Thank you for your leadership. Additionally, I want to thank my fellow air chiefs who are here today, both virtually and in person. I also want to say congratulations to one and all as we gather for African Air Chief Symposium on its 11th conference. The fact that this event now represents over 30 air forces across the continent of Africa shows the symposium is growing, both in size and importance. Acts is vital for strengthening partner networks, enhancing capabilities and capacity for African air forces. I've had the honor of participating in Air Chief Symposiums around the world. What has rang true at each of these symposiums is the value of relationships and the need to work together. If we want to go far, we want to make sustained and long-term progress towards advancing air power, we must go together. At this year's symposium, I encourage that we all strengthen our relationships. I encourage us to have open and honest dialogue that provides opportunities to enhance capabilities and capacity, and to identify gaps that we can collectively solve together. We must collaborate to develop and improve operational concepts. We must synergize the expertise of our collective air forces to improve professional air knowledge and skill. Since the focus of this year's symposium is strategic airlift, I want to highlight a recent airlift operation. In late August, with the whole world watching, Air Power led the largest non-combatant evacuation operation in history. Air Power was a critical capability that changed the lives of so many Afghan civilians. But it was a coalition of air forces around the world that enabled the success of the entire operation. As you look at the continent of Africa, strategic airlift is essential to overcoming the vast distances that will take all of our collective efforts to overcome, which is why the Association of African Air Forces is vital to ensuring that we have a coalition to meet the demands of strategic airlift. Although just established in 2015, the AF has grown to 26 members. Similar to ACTS, the AF provides a platform and mechanism where our air forces can engage multilaterally and leverage the unique contribution of each country. It offers an opportunity to identify common air power challenges and develop African-led solutions. I truly believe success takes help. Failure you can do alone. We need to continue to foster relationships and collaboration at events like ACTS and in groups like AF. We can stand together during peace so we can stand ready in crisis. Together, we must collaborate to ensure air power remains decisive tomorrow as much as it is today.
Our thanks to General Brown for his remarks. Your Excellency, permit me to now invite to the podium United States Ambassador to the Republic of Rwanda, the Honorable Peter Vrooman. Ambassador Vrooman, we ask that at the end of your remarks, that you invite our guest of honor to officially inaugurate this symposium. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for joining us today. Honorable Ministers, General Harigian, Lieutenant General Mupenzi, invited air chiefs and air defense attachés from across the continent, and distinguished guests, all protocols observed. And I want to wish you mahoro, bienvenue, bon dia, sabah al-khair, and did I forget any other languages? No. Welcome. It is an honor to be here in person at the 11th iteration of the Air Chiefs Symposium, and unfortunately these events have not been feasible for a good period of time during the global challenge of COVID-19. That we are here together now is even more exciting thanks to those who made it possible while maintaining protocols designed to keep us safe. This is not only a testament to the Ministry of Defense and the Rwanda Defense Forces, but to the government of Rwanda generally, and to the Ministry of Health and the Rwanda Biomedical Center specifically, that have placed safety and precaution at the forefront since the very start of this pandemic, undoubtedly saving countless lives across the country. The ability to discuss in person, as the generals have said, in areas of collaboration to shape a better future for the African continent, and cooperative, multinational engagements for years to come is of utmost importance. And I want to take just a moment to highlight and salute Rwanda's achievement in meeting the WHO target of having 40% of its population fully vaccinated in 2021, and on track, ahead of us, in reaching 70% of its population in 2022. In wrapping up my work as the U.S. Ambassador to Rwanda, I wrote to President Biden this month to thank him for the millions of doses of mRNA vaccine that he has made available to countries across the continent through the COVAX mechanism, and to Rwanda, which has successfully stored them in people's arms. Strategic airlift is the primary topic, as opposed to the pandemic today, at this Air Chief Symposium. And it's appropriate because partner nations can work together to provide each other with airlift capabilities to address growing needs for their respective countries in times of crisis, in times of pandemic. If nothing else, this pandemic has become more clear since this pandemic that we must work together to collaborate and solve problems, which we can't do alone. In this vein, it's imperative that we continue to identify methods and avenues to work together to address growing concerns across the continent. whether it pertains to the transshipment of vital medications and vaccines, or medications to combat the threat posed by malaria, Ebola, or COVID-19, or whether it is to transport casualties from the front lines of battle to viable medical care, or whether it pertains to bringing airmen to respond to climatic events caused by Mother Nature herself. Collaboration is vital. I urge you to speak with each other. If you have time to visit some of Rwanda's other innovations, such as Zipline, that brings blood products to remote parts of this country, and in Ghana brings vaccines to people throughout West Africa. We must continue to work together and listen to each other, to be patient with each other and genuinely seek each other's counsel if we truly want to make these multinational partnerships work. Thank you, Air Chiefs. Thank you, Your Excellency, and farewell to my friends here in Rwanda as I move to Mozambique for my next posting. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Excellency, Peter Vrooman, United States Ambassador to Rwanda, General Jeffrey Harrigan, Commander, U.S. Air Forces in Europe, Air Forces in Africa, Air Chiefs and senior officials, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to join you today to open the 11th Africa Air Chiefs Symposium. First, allow me to warmly welcome you to Rwanda. I also wish to commend the United States Air Forces in Europe, Air Forces in Africa, for the continued support to African Air Forces. Strategic airlift is a critical component for the maintenance of peace and security on the continent, particularly for peacekeeping operations. Nevertheless, our airlift capabilities are limited, and this affects the ability of African Air Forces to respond rapidly to security threats. Many of Africa's emerging security challenges are transnational in scope. And so one country has the resources, no one country has the resources to respond to them alone. We must therefore prioritize partnerships. The benefits of working together are clear. First, partnerships can enable African Air Forces to have access to quality aircraft for the transportation of personnel and equipment. Second, partnerships can create opportunities for specialized training for pilots and maintenance, crews, and lastly, partnerships can help modernize air transport infrastructure, such as air traffic control facilities and air-to-ground communications. As Africa's air forces work toward enhancing military effectiveness, the continent's evolving security landscape must be taken into account. Threats are increasingly being posed by highly mobile forces, and as such, airborne intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance are critical. Funding will continue to be a challenge, but we cannot afford to let that override our collective commitment to stability on the continent. Let's continue working together to see tangible results. To conclude, I want to emphasize that the discussions in the following days should be held within the wider context of Africa's socio-economic development trajectory. Security and prosperity are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. I trust that the symposium will facilitate this, and that even more countries will join the Association of African Air Forces. Once again, thank you for gathering here in our capital. You're most welcome, and I hope you will enjoy your stay here as you go about the business that have made us gather here today. I thank you for your kind attention.
Your Excellency, murakoze cyane. Kizangita inama ugiriro. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of the opening ceremony. Once again, Mr. President, we are honored for the time you have spent with us today. To our distinguished guests, we wish you a pleasant stay in the beautiful city of Kigali, the city of 1,000 hills, Rwanda, and a fruitful symposium.
So we will now rise as the President departs. Colleagues from protocol will now guide those going to be part of the picture. We kindly ask others to remain seated in the room. Thank you, Your Excellency. The picture, please, you may join His Excellency.
gutangiza ku mugaragaro iri huriro nyafurika ry'abagaba bakuru b'ingabo zirwanira mu kirere, bikaba bitangiye ku mugaragaro. Iri huriro rizamara iminsi igera kuri 5 ribera hano muri Kigali Convention Center. Uyu munsi rero ukaba hari umunsi wa mbere wo kuritangiza ku mugaragaro ku itariki 24 z'ukwezi kwa mbere, azasozwa ku itariki 28 z'ukwezi kwa mbere uyu mwaka wa 2022. Mu gutangiza iri huriro rero umukuru w'igihugu amaze kwibutsa abagiye kumara iminsi 5 baganira ku ngingo zitandukanye zirebana n'uru rwego k'ubufatanye ari ingenzi cyane mu guhangana n'ibibazo bikigaragara hirya no hino ku mugabane wa Afurika. Muri ibyo bibazo harimo n'iby'umutekano muke ndetse n'uburyo bwo gufatanya mu mikoranire yo mu kirere kugira ngo amahoro n'umutekano ndetse n'ituze by'abatuye umugabane bashe kugerwaho. Avuze ko nta gihugu na kimwe cyakwifasha mu kugera kuri ibi, ndetse ko ari ingenzi cyane gusangizanya ubunararibonye, gusangizanya uko igihugu kimwe cyagiye kinyura mu bibazo cyagiye gihura nabyo bitandukanye kugira ngo ubwo bufatanye bubashe kugeza Afurika aho yifuza kugera. Abandi batanze ubutumwa mu gutangiza iri huriro n'ubundi bose bagiye bagaruka kuri iki kijyanye n'ubufatanye, gushyira hamwe ndetse no gusangizanya ubunararibonye. Ambasaderi wa Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika no mu Rwanda wanasoje imirimo ye akaba agiye kwikomereza muri Mozambique yo guhagararira Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika. Birumvikana yashimiye Leta y'u Rwanda ubufatanye yagaragaje cyane kugira ngo iri huriro ryari rimaze igihe ridaterana, ryaherukaga guteranira muri Kenya i Nairobi kubera iki cyorezo cya COVID-19. Avuga ko bitari byoroshye. Nawe yagarutse ku bimaze kugerwaho cyane cyane n'u Rwanda birimo nka zipline n'ibindi bitandukanye by'udushya byagiye bihangwa mu rwego rwo kugira ngo binafashe gusa bitari mu rwego rw'umutekano ahubwo no mu buzima ndetse n'izindi nzego. Avuga ko gusangizanya ubwo bunararibonye, gusangizanya izo ntambwe zagiye ziterwa bizafasha uyu mugabane wa Afurika muri rusange kugera ku iterambere wifuza. Naha rero twasoreza uyu munsi wa mbere w'iri huriro nyafurika rigiye guterana ku nshuro ya 11 riteranyirije abagaba b'ingabo zirwanira mu kirere bo mu bihugu 30 birimo 29 bya Afurika na kimwe aricyo Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika no muri Kigali Convention Center. Nyuma rero yo kwitangiza ku mugaragaro mu kanya hakaza kuba ibiganiro birumvikana biri buze gukora mu nguni zose zirebana n'uru rwego birimo guhanahana bwa bunararibonye n'ubundi mu butumwa bwagarutswe n'abanyacyubahiro bwibandagaho. Reka rero tubashimire mwese mwari kumwe na Televiziyo Rwanda, tubararikira gukomeza gukurikira izindi gahunda zikomeje. Mugire umunsi mwiza.